We're going to talk about some of the strangest moments in history, times when armies tried to win battles not with bullets, but by, well, messing with people's heads. I'm talking about ghostly whales in the jungle, million-dollar bounties on fighter jets. Yeah, so welcome to a look at the truly weird world of psychological operations, or PSYOP. I mean, it's the ultimate strategic question, right? How do you win a war without firing a single shot? It's a puzzle military leaders have been obsessed with for centuries, and it's led to some of the most creative and, honestly, some of the most bizarre tactics you can imagine. The real goal here? It's not about conquering land, it's about conquering the human mind. And, this isn't just about dropping a few leaflets from a plane. PSYOP, that's psychological operations, is a formal military discipline. It's the very deliberate use of information to influence how people think, feel, and act. You could almost think of it as weaponized communication, all designed to hit very, very specific targets. And that's the thing. Modern PSYOP has evolved way beyond just simple propaganda or guesswork. It's become a rigorous, systematic process. It's really a science of influence, and it involves this incredibly deep analysis of what makes people tick, their motivations, their vulnerabilities, all the little things that shape how we behave. Okay, so let's get into our first case study. For this one, we're heading deep into the dense, humid jungles of the Vietnam War. This is where one of the most chilling psychological operations in history was unleashed. The operation was codenamed Wandering Soul. The targets? The Viet Cong and North Vietnamese soldiers. And the weapon? Well, it wasn't a bomb and it wasn't a bullet. It was a sound. A terrifying, totally otherworldly sound, broadcast through the pitch-black jungle night after night. I mean, just try to imagine it. You're deep in enemy territory, it's the middle of the night, and all of a sudden you start hearing these eerie, wheeling voices. See, the whole operation preyed on a really deeply held cultural belief that the souls of the dead who aren't properly buried are doomed to just wander the earth in agony, looking for revenge. And the recording they used, it was called Ghost Tape Number 10. So here's the big question, right? Leaflets, radio broadcasts, that stuff had been used for decades. So what made spooky sounds in the jungle so ridiculously effective? Why did this specific tactic get under the skin of hardened, seasoned soldiers in a way that nothing else could? Well, the answer lies in a really powerful framework for understanding human behavior. It's called the CALM-B model. And it's pretty simple, actually. It says that for any behavior to happen, you need 3 key ingredients: the capability to do it, the opportunity to do it, and, this is the big one, the motivation. And that is exactly why the ghost tape worked so well. It completely bypassed rational thought. It blew right past military training. Instead, it targeted a much deeper, almost automatic motivation, a primal spiritual fear that was literally hardwired into the culture of these soldiers. It was, frankly, a masterclass in finding and exploiting a psychological vulnerability. All right, now let's flip the coin completely. We're going to go from a story of chilling success to one of just spectacular failure. And this one shows you exactly what happens when you get the science of influence completely and utterly wrong. Okay, so picture this. It's the Korean War. The U.S. launches something called Operation Moolah, and on paper the idea sounds brilliant. They offered a massive reward, $100,000, which is over $1 million in today's money, to the very first North Korean pilot who would defect with their top-of-the-line MiG-15 fighter jet. So they dropped over 1 million leaflets advertising this deal. They were expecting a flood of defectors, right? But what happened? Crickets. Nothing. Not a single pilot took the bait. The entire operation was a huge misfire. And why? Because they skipped the single most critical step, one that's right there in their own rulebook: analyze your audience. The problem was the offer was completely disconnected from the pilot's reality. Let's break it down. First, the motivation. It was totally flawed. $100,000 in US dollars. That's a completely abstract number to someone who's never lived in a capitalist system. So they lacked the capability to even understand what the reward meant. And then, the most critical failure, they had zero opportunity. There was no safe way to defect, no instructions on how to do it. The US basically dangled this huge prize in front of them, but completely forgot to build a path to actually go and get it. Look, these old war stories are fascinating, but the core principles we're talking about, they are more relevant today than ever before. Because the battlefield for our minds, it's moved from the jungle and the sky right into the device you're probably holding in your hand. And this quote really nails the challenge we're all facing now. Not too long ago, social media platforms took down a bunch of secret pro-Western influence campaigns. This actually prompted the Pentagon to launch a full-scale review of its own online tactics. The whole game has gone digital, and the ethical lines, they are getting incredibly blurry for everyone involved. And these are the new weapons in the information war. We're talking about state actors deploying huge networks of fake social media accounts, using AI to just pump out propaganda, and building these copycat news sites that look almost exactly like the real thing. They'll invent fake experts out of thin air or even hire real social media influencers to spread their message. It makes it harder than it has ever been to figure out who is trying to influence you and what they really want. So, what are we supposed to do about all this? Well, the point here isn't just to tell you some weird war stories. It's to actually arm you with the very same framework that influence operators use, so that you can turn it around and use it as a defense. And yep, here we are, right back to our model. Look, the technology, the tools they use to deliver these messages, it's changed like crazy. But the human operating system, the fundamental things that drive our behavior, capability, opportunity, and motivation, that stuff hasn't changed at all. And understanding that, that's your best defense. The very same tool that's used to build an influence campaign can be flipped around to take one apart. So next time you see something online, especially if it makes you feel a really strong emotion like anger or fear, that's your cue. You can use this framework to take a step back and see what's really going on. Here's how it works. First, question the motivation. Just ask yourself, who benefits if I believe this? Second, consider the source's capability. Does this person or account actually have the expertise to know what they're talking about? Or are they just some random profile? And finally, assess your own opportunity to verify it. Can you actually check other sources? Is there any way to fact-check this before you hit share or just accept it as true? So from ghostly tapes in the jungle to AI bots on your phone, the tools of influence are constantly changing. They're always evolving. But our human operating system, that stays the same. By understanding the simple mechanics we've talked about, you are so much better equipped to navigate this new battlefield. So I'll just leave you with this one final question. Who's trying to get inside your head today?